It is September 8th, 2017. It's a Friday, and welcome to the first full episode of What's the Deal, where I'm going to be trying to discuss a couple of issues that seem to cause problems in our abilities to date and relate and mate with each other. Today I decided I wanted to do, I guess, I don't even want to say a part one because I know it's going to come up in other forms later, but this whole texting versus talking thing, okay, look, here's the reality. Some of you, I guess I'll say it this way. Many of us, or each of us, generally pick a side. Some guys prefer to text, others prefer talking on the phone. And I mean that particularly in the initial stages, the very initial stages, like, you know, you're, let's say, chatting on an app or something, and then maybe you even met in the club. But I feel like if you met in the club, then it's not quite the same because, well, I guess in a way it could be. Because at least there is a face-to-face interaction, there is some talking that may kind of morph into texting. And when you're online or on an app or something and you meet somebody and you all talk, then that becomes you kind of just change mediums, I guess. So you may not communicate through the app anymore. You feel like, the phone is just faster. And while I will say I'm not entirely sure it's a generational thing, it feels like if there was a split, that's probably what it is. But there are, exceptions to the rule. So, But aside from that, I guess I know that I've had in the last maybe 3 or 4 days, I've had interactions with guys that have come on to, I met them online. I mean, I pretty much meet everybody online because I don't really go out. But, they want to talk. And I don't really care to be on the phone. Now, I'm a texter. I would much rather just answer you back or answer you when I get a chance. And I will say maybe because I am a texter that I certainly understand that side better. I kind of get the talking because I can talk. I mean, I do these videos and, if I'm hanging with my friends, then yeah, we're talking and laughing and all the rest. But I think that my issue, I will say personally, the first thing is I don't really talk on the phone because I think that it occupies your time. In the sense that you can't really multitask while you're on the phone. There are some things you could do, but none of the stuff that I tend to do, I could really do while I'm on the phone. If I'm having an active conversation with somebody. That includes like watching TV or reading something or mostly those two things. So if I'm listening to what you're saying, then I can't do that. So that might seem a little selfish, but it does kind of lead into the second problem, which is that I talk to so many guys that insist on being on the phone and they have nothing to say. So they call you and I guess expect you to take the conversation over, but that's why you call. And anybody that knows about even basic phone etiquette knows that the onus of the conversation is on the caller. So when you call me, what have your questions ready? What you want to, I want to get to know you better. Okay, well, what do you want to know? And, dead air for 15 seconds, 30 seconds. They're just not saying anything. And when you're trying to ping pong a conversation, and they, some one-word answer, something vague, something average, something regular, something common. So it doesn't really lead to you know, the continuous conversation. It's just these roadblocks. So it makes me feel like, why am I even bothered? Like, why did I answer the phone? And I will say that I don't think about it as much anymore, but when I was younger, I used to get a lot of like, well, you film, so, and they just like hang up. Man, I usually didn't get anybody like kind of rudely, abruptly hanging up, but there would be definitely this like, I'm not interested anymore because your voice doesn't sound how I thought it would. Okay, granted. So then you're done. But I guess I feel like I don't this okay, my strategy is my thinking for those of you talkers who don't understand texters. What I would tell you is I think for most texters, they want to arrange the meeting. Like, I want you to meet me and sit and chat with me and fine. And I feel like I'm much more engaging in person than I would be over the phone because, to be quite honest, as I kind of alluded to a little bit ago, I'm almost irritated to be on the phone. I don't like new people calling me and trying to force a conversation when they're the ones who called me, they're the ones who insisted on us being on the phone, and then they don't have anything to say. And I feel like that is way more common than I think people would think it is. It's a lot of guys that ask for, so what you doing? I was watching TV, and even if I kind of go into the TV and like, that's basically what happened the other day. The guy was like, let me, or they get kind of angry when you text them. Because it's like, well, he gave me his phone number, and I don't really like that either, because I feel like that's old bait and switch. Because if you give me your number, then in many cases, it means they want you to call them. But I don't want to call you, so I'll text you. And then they kind of get mad at that. And it's like, well, but the phone works two ways. So if you received my text and you want to talk, then you call me. But as I said before, the onus of the conversation is on the caller. So to me, you sending me your number means that you want me to call you and then do the talking. But I don't want to talk. Not like that. And again, more out of bad experiences and once bitten, twice shy. Because to me, I don't feel like it's that hard to say, oh, okay, well, where in town do you live? Do you drive? What do you like to eat? And then we can go to meet up at some restaurant somewhere. Just be there. That's all you have to do is show up. And the rest will probably take care of itself. But I think that a lot of people are more engaged. Now, don't get me to paint with wide brushes, because I know how that goes across the board. I've dated a lot of men, or at least gone out with them. So I know that these rules are not that great altogether. But generally speaking, that's the issue. Because now, if you are a talker and you'll call and you have interesting things to say and you can talk about what you do for a living without coming off, bitter or one-dimensional, or I would say one-dimensional in any form. So whatever it is that you do to look a little bit more well-rounded would always be a great idea. But this video is not about being well-rounded. It's about texting versus talking, and really how I don't think ultimately one is necessarily better than the other. I think they each have their advantages, and I think that not enough people know where those advantages lie. So they aren't really good at using one against the other, particularly in the case of trying to get to know somebody. Because we've all had friends. I think, Key and Peele have a really good skit about how texts can go wrong if someone reads something with a different tone than you wrote it. And I'm sure that happens a lot. But even in talking sometimes, I feel like people make assumptions about your personality, and you know, it's one of those you never get a second chance to make a first impression kind of deals. So in the same way that I can't really change my voice, you know, some people don't know how to not sound we'll just say certain ways, whatever that means. So if it's your use of a certain type of vernacular, you know, if you talk very round the way, or you have a very, I'll even say like pop gay vernacular. So you everything is yes and that kind of stuff. That again, like everything else, does not necessarily work for someone else. And I feel like some guys would argue that by talking to you over the phone, they get a better assertion of you as a person and why they would or would not want to meet you in person. Because they'll say, oh, well, if you don't have anything to say over the phone, then you wouldn't have anything to say in person. And I can guarantee you that that is not true. And sometimes I think it probably could save many of us a little bit of time, but it's tough because I don't think that there's a lot of weight put on that, especially so early on, and even meeting somebody. So we haven't even really gotten to like dating yet, but it's just the interactions. And one of the dangers in the phone thing to me is that you have to be talking to somebody. Like those conversations have to happen kind of as often as possible up front. I mean, they need to make it to a point of comfortability. But I don't know if that's the same as, or I'll say if that same measure can be achieved through texting. I mean, to me, I'm thinking you just want to get the regular information. So you want to know all of this, I guess, all of the preparatory stuff towards a date. So that would just be where you live, maybe what your work schedule is like. So you want to know about when is the free time, and that's really what you're asking. I give two shits what you do for a living, but you know, if you work 3 jobs, how hard is it for you to have free time? And if you do have only 1 day a week, can I get that day or some of that day, or is that a reserve for some other obligation you've got, like a sick parent or something? Because at that point, how are we dating? How would we do that if you ain't ever available? But again, not what we're talking about. So in the realm of what they should be used for, it's just the basic stuff to kind of get to the date, to me. So, but I will say that, again, whichever avenue you use, whether you're a texter, whether you're a talker, make a point to make your point. So if you're going to insist on calling, then you call me, or you call the other person, don't call me, and have something to say. Have your questions ready. Know what your strategy is. What is it that you want to know from this person as a result of this call? And you could argue the same thing with texting. Texting, I know people feel like, well, texting just takes a long time. It doesn't have to. If you're in the conversation, then it doesn't. And it's just as great. And you can watch TV and do all the rest of the stuff that you want to do without having to worry about somebody usurping your time. So, I will say, though, that like everything else, I would love to know what you guys think. So if you're a texter, tell me why. If you're a talker, tell me why. Which one do you think is better? Do you really have a preference? Maybe you don't. Maybe there's a strong advantage to one over the other, and this is why you use that one, and I'd love to be aware. But this is the end of the first episode, if you will. So, you know, leave your comments, share, let the people know, and don't forget to sign up, www knqmatchmaking.com. And we'll talk to y'all soon. Or text you soon. Bye.